Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Adams, and I am a candidate for the mayor of the city of Detroit. We're out here standing at East 7 Mile and 75, a side of a freeway in Detroit. And as we all know, our freeways have become extremely dangerous in the city of Detroit. We also understand that black men are dying in the city of Detroit. We also have black women being shot indiscriminately in the city of Detroit. And this administration is doing absolutely nothing to address the issue of crime in the city. When I heard the mayor's state of the affairs, it took him an hour and 20 minutes to even begin to talk about the issue of crime and how it's impacting our community. I'm standing with many community leaders because we can no longer accept the nonchalant, benign neglect of crime in the city of Detroit. We have to change our approach. We have to change what we do. We have to be seriously focused on intervening in crime before it occurs. Our police officers are stretched thin. They're running crazy overtime hours because they don't have enough resources to assist them. But the resources that we need to address the issue are putting more community intervention and specialists on the ground in our communities. We need to hire more than 100 community intervention specialists, people who are trained in conflict resolution, people who have relationships with our at-risk youth, so that we can begin the conversation much more aggressively than what's going on in the city today. When they talk about crime intervention strategy, it's what I call a check-the-box strategy. We do a little to attack the problem, but we don't throw millions of dollars in resources behind the problem. Crime in the city of Detroit is a public health issue as well as a public safety issue. And we have to change our approach to how we address the issue. And this administration doesn't have a clue on how we approach that problem. So this is part of my solution. One, I'm calling for the hiring of 100 community intervention specialists, gang intervention people, working with our community organizations, working with our churches that have relationships with people at risk, so that we can get a handle on meeting people where they are. We are not devoting enough resources to the issue. We've got to have much more people on the ground assisting and talking with our community organizations, talking with the people who are at risk, so that they understand that there is a pathway to how we can move forward in the city of Detroit. The other portion of the strategy is devoting much more dollars in terms of job training, job assistance, and skill development. Until we begin to understand that we have to invest in people. This is a people-first strategy. If we're talking about community intervention specialists, we're talking about people who are trained and understand the at-risk culture. And if we begin to put more dollars behind these programs, I think we can have a much better result. In addition, we also have to provide our officers with assistance. They don't have enough mental health services. We're burning our police officers out at an alarming rate. And to the extent we begin to understand that they too need assistance, they too need help, we're going to constantly be chasing our tails to deal with the problem. In addition, we're also calling for much more federal intervention strategies to assist in taking illegal guns out of our community. We have not spent and have not heard anything with respect to the programming that the city has done to address the issue of how we remove dangerous guns off of our streets. Until we begin to do that, we're again chasing our tails and not addressing the problem. Finally, when we hear about the fact that we have 2,500 pending gun cases in the city of Detroit, and there's a call to expedite the processing of those gun cases, I say that's only part of the strategy. The second part of the strategy that we've got to begin to do is address diversion of our young men and our young women who get caught with guns in our community. I'm not talking about people who commit murders. I'm talking about young people that are riding with a gun in their car because they're definitely afraid of their lives. And once we begin to bring people in to have them deal with their judicial issues, we've also got to have another aspect of that program, which is providing diversion services, which is providing job training services, which is providing an opportunity for people to move forward. We can no longer continue to incarcerate our way out of crime. We can no longer intend to arrest our way out of crime. We've got to be much more proactive in intervention strategies that are designed to attack the problem before we have an issue. We always say in the community that before the bullets fly and after the bullets fly, everybody knows who pulled the trigger. And so we've got to be much more upfront in how we approach our issues. We're dealing with issues of homelessness. We're dealing with issues of hopelessness in our community. And until we begin to understand that we cannot deal with crime without addressing underlying issues of poverty, we will continuously be in a cycle of high crime rates, high poverty, and high hopelessness. And so we're calling on the administration to hire 100 community intervention specialists to go out into our neighborhoods to address and interact with our young men and women who are becoming victims of crime, who are engaged in criminal activity because they have no hope, because they are hopeless within our city. And so now I'm going to open the floor up to questions.
Can you talk a little bit about where you would see these folks coming from? Like, do we have 100 people that we can hire right now? Are there interventionists out there that are just waiting to be hired? Who are these?
There are a number of intervention specialist programs and trainings that are out there, but they have never gotten the level of resources that they need in order to address the issue. And what I'm talking about is a massive hiring approach. And that can be done very simply by working through existing organizations that have staffing and manpower, but have never been given the resource to do what they need to do. And so I say, yes, there are people out there, because when you're talking about paying someone $50,000, $60,000 to be a community intervention specialist, I think we would knock down the doors to attract the caliber of people that we need in order to address this problem. This is a resource allocation issue, and this administration has failed to devote the necessary resources in order to change the trajectory of crime in the city of Detroit. Exactly. This is exactly what I would do. Because when you're talking about a community policing strategy is not simply having an officer who is friends with the people who come to the police community relations meeting. It's a much more broader strategy aimed at going further out into the community, addressing people and meeting people where they are. You know, we can't have community intervention and community policing if we don't have the police and the community intervention specialists out in the community dealing and talking with the people who have issues. My strategy is much more aimed at investing in people. We cannot incarcerate ourselves out. If you're telling me we got 2,500 active gun cases in the city of Detroit, and at a tune of about $70,000 to $80,000 to incarcerate people who would end up in jail, I'm saying that that is a bad use of money. That we could probably spend $40,000, $50,000 providing them with a job skill and training, providing them with an income and resource necessary to begin to move their lives forward, provide them with the training that they need in order to address the underlying issues of poverty and homelessness and helplessness. We've got to begin to change how we approach this issue, because we failed at doing it any other way.
Question about the lawsuit that was dismissed by the federal judge.
Right. So, you know, again, when you talk about resources and resource allocation, you know, the city of Detroit decided to spend money to sue the We Can't Breathe movement. An absolute waste of money for an organization that's exercising their constitutional right to protest police brutality. That's the type of decisions that will not be made within my administration, because I'm not interested in suing folks who demonstrate in the city of Detroit. I'm more concerned about understanding why they're protesting the issue of police brutality and the militarization of our police department. We've got to work with our community organizations so that we can encourage them to be a part of the solution. When Detroit Will Breathe comes to me, I'm going to say, I need your help in solving the issue of how we recruit additional police officers. I need for you to use your network to go out and encourage young people to want to be a part of the police department, to work to reform it from within. We also need people on the outside pushing to reform, and we definitely need more accountability with respect to the Detroit police officers' contract. There are numerous anti-accountability provisions that exist within that contract, which inhibit the ability of the department to take action against rogue police officers. I'm not talking about the men and women who provide valuable service, who get up every morning and come to work in the city of Detroit. I'm talking about rogue officers. And I know of a situation recently where you have two officers, one with 45 complaints, I think the other with 85 complaints, and there's been no action taken against those officers. That is a travesty of justice and lack of accountability, both within the administration of the city as well as the police department. And we've got to begin to change this if we're going to change the trajectory of crime and policing in the city of Detroit. No, I have not had a conversation with Chief Craig, and I don't anticipate having a conversation with Chief Craig, nor with Mayor Duggan, because when you're criticizing people's conduct, it makes it difficult for them to have a conversation with you about what needs to be done.
The reason I ask is this past Monday he had a news conference following several incidents in which officers were directly targeted with gunfire.
Yes.
And he used the term, "who's going to stand with us?" And he made a point of saying, by not naming people, that there were those in the community he asked to be with him with that message, and they declined. I guess what I'm asking in a roundabout way is, it seems from the chief's end there is a disconnect apparently within community policing and support.
Well, he's in charge of the community policing program. And so if you're telling me that the chief is asking people to stand with him and fight crime, and he can't find anybody to do that, that tells you that their strategy has been ineffective. And what I'm suggesting is that the community wants policing. Trust me, there are people, when you talk with senior citizens who are trapped in their homes because they're afraid to come out, they're afraid to go to the grocery store, they want the police to be there for them, and they want to be with the police. But until we begin to restore the faith and confidence in our police department, that is a major issue. We've seen incident after incident where we have police flying through the city, driving cars at high speed because they don't simply want to do what they need to do. And I'm not throwing a wide net against all police officers, because our police officers are under-resourced and they're overstressed. When you're working thousands of hours in overtime, month after month, that begins to take a toll on the officers themselves. And so what I'm suggesting is that we got to begin a subtle shift away from providing the people who can engage the community before crime starts. Because once you call the police, it's too late. We've got to be much more proactive in engaging the community and talking with the people and developing the relationship and enhancing the confidence, because the people in this city want to be safe, they want to be secure.